Welcome back to our channel. Today is a beautiful sunny Tuesday, a perfect moment to gather together and delve into the fascinating developments of our favorite daytime drama. We are thrilled to share these insights with you, our dedicated community of viewers, as we explore the intricate web of secrets and survival in Port Charles. Let us jump right into the heart of the story. As a literary critic who has spent decades analyzing the narrative structures of General Hospital, I often find myself moved by how the show evolves while honoring its rich history. For those of us who have followed these families through generations, the events for Tuesday, April the 21st, offer a profound look into the psychology of power and legacy. We are witnessing the complex unraveling of characters we have known for years. The canvas is painted with a palpable sense of urgency, demanding we look beyond surface actions and question the deeply rooted motivations driving our beloved residents. It is a masterful display of serialized storytelling that respects the emotional investment of its longtime audience. Let us examine the perennially fraught dynamic between Rick Lansing and Sonny Corinthos. Rick is experiencing an intense wave of suspicion regarding Sonny, specifically concerning the new level of control Sonny has acquired. For those who remember the bitter wars these half-brothers have waged over the decades, this suspicion is entirely in character. Rick possesses a razor-sharp mind, perpetually attuned to shifting power dynamics. He recognizes that Sonny's newfound leverage is a highly calculated adjustment designed to counter the severe danger introduced by a formidable figure named Sidwell. The introduction of Sidwell has cast a dark shadow over Port Charles, forcing everyone to recalibrate their survival strategies. Why does this specific adjustment by Sonny trigger such profound anxiety in Rick? I argue it stems from Rick's inherent need to be the smartest man in the room. When Sonny, a man who typically operates on visceral instinct, begins executing complex maneuvers to consolidate power, it throws Rick off balance. Rick knows absolute control often invites absolute catastrophe. He suspects Sonny's aggressive posturing against Sidwell might inadvertently trigger a war that could consume them all. Is his concern rooted in a genuine desire to protect the family, or is it laced with his own resentment at seeing Sonny navigate a threat that Rick cannot control? I believe it is a tragic mixture of both, highlighting their inescapable sibling rivalry. This brings us to Sonny's desperate internal battle, which is taking an unprecedented turn. Sonny is taking an enormous risk, and considering his extensive history as a mob boss, taking a risk for Sonny Corinthos is a statement of immense magnitude. The core of his current narrative revolves around a feverish obsession with proving his innocence in the murder of Marco. For years, we have watched Sonny embrace his dark reputation, utilizing fear to maintain order. Why this sudden, desperate need for exoneration? Why is clearing his name regarding Marco becoming an all-consuming mission for a man who has historically operated above the law? I believe we are witnessing a profound existential crisis, a realization of mortality that strikes men who have lived by the sword. Sonny's no longer just fighting to stay out of a prison cell. He is fighting for the historical narrative of his life. He wants to prove that he is not simply a ruthless killer who lashes out indiscriminately. Marco's death represents a moral line that Sonny vehemently insists he did not cross. His obsession with finding the truth is, from my critical perspective, a desperate attempt to reclaim a fragment of his humanity. However, I must express skepticism regarding the execution of this storyline. Is it believable that a seasoned mob boss would risk his empire just to clear his name of one specific crime? While I appreciate the emotional depth, I worry the writers might be romanticizing Sonny's conscience. Nevertheless, the danger of his rogue investigation makes for compelling television. Shifting our focus to the medical corridors of General Hospital, we find Britt Westbourne ensnared in a deeply unsettling predicament. Britt has undergone a remarkable character evolution, transforming from a manipulative opportunist into a highly capable, empathetic physician. Yet, her proximity to the criminal element pulls her back into peril. She finds herself caught in an unexpected scenario as Cullum relentlessly increases the pressure on her to uncover the identity of the person who shot him. This places Britt in an agonizing ethical dilemma, forcing her to navigate the treacherous waters between her Hippocratic oath and the brutal demands of underworld vengeance. Why is Cullum specifically targeting Britt for this dangerous task? It speaks volumes about her precarious position in Port Charles as someone who understands the dark underbelly yet operates legitimately. As a viewer who has grown fond of Britt, I feel a profound sense of protective anxiety for her. We have watched her endure devastating heartbreak, and placing her in the crosshairs of a volatile man's quest for retribution feels cruel. I am critical of the narrative habit of constantly using Britt as a pawn in mob violence. She has earned the right to have storylines centered around her brilliant medical career. However, I cannot deny that she handles these terrifying adjustments with a phenomenal blend of sharp wit and vulnerability. Meanwhile, romantic and familial entanglements are reaching a boiling point surrounding Curtis Ashford, Portia Robinson, and the lingering presence of Jordan Ashford. Curtis is stepping forward with serious words for Isaiah regarding Portia. Curtis fiercely protects his heart, and his relationship with Portia has been hard-won, built upon a foundation that survived numerous secrets. Isaiah's presence in Portia's orbit is striking a deep nerve, introducing a fresh layer of complication into an already fragile dynamic. But the truly explosive element is the revelation that Isaiah might be the medical professional tasked with treating Jordan's severe burn injuries. This is where the genius of soap opera plotting shines. Jordan's burn injuries represent a horrific physical trauma, but narratively they serve as a powerful emotional catalyst. Curtis cannot turn a blind eye to the profound suffering of his ex-wife, a woman with whom he shared a deeply passionate history. Portia, who harbors understandable insecurities regarding Curtis's connection to Jordan, is forced to watch this intricate dynamic unfold. Having Isaiah, a man causing friction with Curtis regarding Portia, be the one to physically heal Jordan creates a magnificent conflict. It brilliantly asks the audience to consider the complex boundaries between past loves, professional duty, and current marital commitments. From a critical standpoint, I find this specific narrative choice deeply engaging. It successfully avoids the predictable trope of a simple romantic triangle and roots the conflict in a genuine medical crisis. I have often felt Jordan has been unfairly sidelined in recent years. Giving her a poignant storyline focusing intensely on her physical recovery and emotional vulnerability is a welcome change. Furthermore, it forces Portia to confront the ugliest parts of her jealousy in a situation where she cannot morally demand Curtis abandon Jordan. The impending conversations between Curtis and Isaiah are guaranteed to be fraught with unspoken tension, a psychological battle of alpha males disguised as medical concern. Returning to the dangerous intersection of law enforcement and the criminal underworld, we see Dante Falconeri stepping into the murky waters of Cullum's orbit. Dante is actively seeking new intelligence, a daring move highlighting his eternal struggle to balance his police badge with the dark legacy of his bloodline. Choosing to meet with an unpredictable figure like Cullum is incredibly risky, but Dante never shies away from the front lines. What specific intel is Cullum offering? Is it related to Marco's murder, putting Dante on a collision course with Sonny's investigation, or is it tied to the looming threat posed by Sidwell? Dante's role continually forces him to make uncomfortable deals with devils. But perhaps the most emotionally resonant aspect of Dante's current arc is his escalating tension with young Danny. Danny, carrying the heavy legacy of his biological father, Jason Morgan, is navigating the rebellious waters of adolescence in a town where violence is romanticized. Dante has valiantly tried to be a stabilizing, fatherly figure, representing the straight and narrow path of justice. However, Danny's inherent draw toward the danger that defined Jason's life creates a fundamental ideological clash. As a longtime viewer who remembers Jason's tragic choices, watching this generational trauma play out is deeply moving and profoundly sad. The escalating tension between Dante and Danny is not merely a tale of teenage rebellion, it is a desperate battle for the young boy's soul. Dante represents the safety of the law, while the lingering ghost of Jason Morgan represents a dark loyalty and a dangerous kind of honor. I believe the writers are doing a spectacular job illustrating how Dante's intense frustrations are born out of a terrified love. He does not want Danny to become a casualty of mob wars. Yet, Dante's own questionable methods, such as secretly meeting with Cullum, expose a glaring hypocrisy that Danny is bound to challenge. How can Dante effectively preach the virtues of the law when he constantly flirts with the criminal element? When we analyze all these interwoven narrative threads, from Rick's deep suspicion of Sonny to Britt's terrifying predicament with Cullum, the explosive drama involving Curtis, Portia, Isaiah, and Jordan, and Dante's struggles with his rebellious stepson, we are presented with a true masterclass in daytime drama. The overarching theme of this episode is the inescapable, suffocating nature of the past. Whether it is Sonny trying to frantically rewrite his violent legacy, Jordan painfully dealing with physical scars, or Danny grappling with the overwhelming ghost of his father, every single character is fighting a desperate battle against their own history. As a critic who has dedicated a significant portion of my life to analyzing this remarkable show, I must enthusiastically applaud the current narrative direction. While I may occasionally disagree with the pacing choice, the overall emotional resonance is undeniably powerful. General Hospital is bravely asking difficult questions about redemption, familial love, and the heavy price of survival in a dangerous world. It is deeply rewarding our long-term investment by referencing complex histories and honoring psychological profiles. I urge all of you to pay close attention to the nuanced performances in the coming days. Port Charles is clearly bracing for a massive storm, and the resulting emotional wreckage will be absolutely captivating to witness.